Welcome back to Amaroo Park, where we're always looking for new angles to bring you closer to the action. And today we thought we'd attach our race cam camera to a Formula 2 car, namely Terry Ryan's Rawlt RT1. A new experience for you.
Certainly is, Gary, yes. I've never had anything like this happen before, but it certainly should look really spectacular. Very spectacular.
Tell me about how the camera has affected the car, if at all.
Yes. Testing with the camera yesterday on Saturday, it certainly does add a lot of weight to the left-hand side of the car, especially over the loop. And after 20 laps, during 20-lap race, you've got a lot of weight. The tyres do get very, very hot on the left-hand side, and it tends to oversteer quite a bit. And up the straight, it does slow the car down quite dramatically by about 300 RPM.
But the camera hardly weighs anything.
That's right. It's mainly just the drag it has, wind effect.
Yeah. It's probably happened before, but a long time since a driver competing in a race actually sponsored the event, a high-time Formula 2 event here at Amaroo.
That's right. Well, it's sort of my bit in towards promoting the company and also promoting the sport which I'm involved with, which is Formula 2.
Well, what's High Time?
High Time Personnel Consulting. It's a consulting firm. It's my girlfriend and myself it's only been running for now 13 months, and hopefully it'll do some good for the company, and we're backing the sport. So,
well, hopefully the race camera won't weigh you down too much in the course of this race.
Hopefully not. I'm looking good for the race this afternoon. We're about the middle of the field, and it's looking good. I feel quite confident.
How conscious are you of the fact that the camera is there over your shoulder?
I don't really notice it. I can't see it through either of the mirrors. It doesn't bother me. My helmet doesn't hit it at all, so it doesn't worry me at all, except after about 10 laps, you can feel the weight pulling it to one side. The
one thing we do request is that you try and stay on the track and finish the race. I think in Adelaide I saw you getting a little out of shape.
Oh, we did have a little bit of a problem. We had a slow leak on the back left tyre, but we tried to make it a little bit more spectacular than normal.
Well, it'll be a new experience for you. It'll be a new experience for our viewers. First time ever on a Formula 2 car. So you get out there and enjoy it, and we'll enjoy the view.
Fantastic. Certainly will.
"20 laps is the distance for the High Time Personnel Formula 2 feature race. 13 cars with Keith McClelland and pole in his Cheetah, and the same time recorded by Peter Macrow, but he starts alongside in another Cheetah. On the second row, Derek Pingle in an Elfin and Craig Gibbs in a Cheetah. Only 10 seconds to go. Terry Ryan on the third row with his race cam car, and he has alongside him Steve Swain. The flag is raised.
And getting away to a good start. Car number 25 is Peter Macrow, but away even quicker than him was Keith McClelland, who sat on pole for the race, racing up Bitchapave Hill for the first time, and it will be McClelland that'll drop down into Dunlop Loop as the leader of the High Time Personnel Formula 2 feature race here today at Amaroo Park. Got away smartly, in fact, and has opened a slight gap, maybe a car's length.
Oh, there's just dust, I think, rising. At first I thought some incident, but it's just cement dust from an earlier crash left on an oil mark. A good start made by Terry Ryan. He picked up one place. He should be through. There he is in fourth spot with the race cam. More puffs of smoke as cars cover some of the dust spread across the track here. And it's the white Cheetah of Keith McClelland still in the lead. The similar green car of Peter Macrow is right behind him, and they've opened quite a large gap over the following cars. And there was Ryan up in fourth place still. Car number 2, Graham Blee, coming through there in sixth place.
Once again dropping into Dunlop Loop, McClelland with Macrow very, very close to him this time through the loop, and heading down to Mazda Corner.
Both McClelland and Macrow recorded equal times in practice, 48 seconds exactly, but because McClelland recorded his time before Macrow, he was given pole position. They started side by side, and that's the way they'd like to be racing now. They've opened an enormous gap over the rest of the field. In third place, it's car number 10, Craig Gibbs, but he's a long way back from this pair. It'll be a good 150, 200 metres. You'll see the gap yourself as they come sweeping around the lake corner. There they are. This is the rest of the field. And it should be Gibbs just leading Terry Ryan.
Ryan in fourth place as they go across the line and head up Bitchapave Hill again. The camera, as you can see there, mounted on the side of his car. There's a little wide there.
He's under a bit of pressure too from the camera side of the car, although the driver behind may make a swoop on the other side. Certainly attempting to get by and almost forces Ryan out wide as he goes under him and succeeds in getting through. Number 13 was Peter Glover. Quite a seasoned driver, but started from the 4th row of the grid. Didn't have a good practice, Glover, and he's now brought his cheetah through into 4th place.
Getting down to the lake corner again, the right-hander is Ryan. The rest of the field have skipped away by whoosh, 250 metres.
Derek Pingle is back behind Ryan. He started way up on the 2nd row of the grid, but has dropped back. He's now back, where was that, in 6th place? So he hasn't had a good start to the race. Now he's gathering up everything and trying to make a challenge on Ryan, but Ryan's swinging through. Well, he says the camera doesn't worry him. I think it would me. It looks like funny stuff over there, doesn't it?
It looks as though it was made for the car. Heading down to Honda Corner. Race leaders have gone through. This is where the action is. Ryan trying to defend the spot on the field and being challenged quite strongly here by the driver of number 5, Derek Pingle. Down to the lake corner again. See if Pingle will make a move here on the inside of Ryan, but Ryan is able to hold his position on the track.
There's a good scrap going on just in front of him too, as Peter Glover continues his move upwards towards the leaders. Glover, who was back in 7th spot on the grid, is now up there and running in 4th place, and he'd be hoping to get the grips to Craig Gibbs, who's just in front of him. Glover taking a good line through the top of the corner, well covered by Gibbs, but Glover now moving close. He's making up ground, there's no doubt. He goes out wide. That'll be a good line, not here, but as they come up towards Honda with this tight left-hander, he'll have plenty of road to choose from. It depends on how quickly Gibbs can get out of the corner and whether he closes the slot. He does, and Glover in fact had to back off and lost a little bit of ground to Ryan, who came up very close on him then. And now Glover himself is under challenge, and that's Formula 2 racing. You make the slightest slip and you're under threat yourself from a pursuer. So it's a pretty close battle now for 2nd spot, with 4 cars contesting, being led by Craig Gibbs in car 10, then Peter Glover in car 13, the man who's made up most distance and really is probably featuring in the drive of the race so far. If he can just get by, though, he needs that to have any chance of catching up with either of the leaders. Glover might do it this time. He takes a nice wide line there, and he should come out very tight through here. Let's see where that places him. The leader should just clip to the outside and pick up a little bit of the cement dust. Glover still back behind and only just back to where he was a lap ago, having just miscued a little bit down in this area and almost let the cars through. He says it didn't work on the inside, I'll try the outside. And he's got round. I wouldn't have thought he had one chance in 100 of doing that.
One of the top drivers in Formula 2 at the moment, Peter Glover. This race is not a round of the Australian Formula 2 Championship, but in the championship, Glover was a previous round winner. He won the 2nd round at Calder. Neil Israel, who's not competing today, was the 1st round winner. And then, no, it wasn't Glover that won at Calder, was it? It was Peter Macrow.
Yes, Macrow.
Yeah, that's right. Macrow was the winner at Calder.
Macrow, who's running in 2nd spot up front.
Glover won the round preceding that.
And Glover going now, he's really pulling away, having got clear of that scrap. He's now in pursuit of the leading two, McClellan and Macrow, who are out there having their own private battle, with the McClellan still leading from Macrow. They've now covered 6 of the 20 laps, so there might just be time for Glover to make up ground. He's got a long way to get up. He started way back on the grid. It took him a long time to clear himself from that group fighting over 3rd place. He's now a clear 3rd. The others are back there seeing who's going to come 4th. And he's got a margin of, how far would it be? Let me say, let's see, rather 200 metres, I suppose. These are the leaders, and they're at least 200 in front of Glover. But the one chance for Glover is they might be so involved in their own private scrap that they might just be going a little slower than one would. The driver in front, McClellan, will be covering the man behind, and they'll be so intent on each other. There's just a chance that Glover, with a clear road in front of him, might have the chance now to try and make up some ground. He's got a long way to go. As they flash through Honda, he's still not in sight coming out of Dunlop exit, so they have themselves a very considerable lead over it. It's a 2-car race. There's no way in the world that Glover, despite what he's done, could catch up. Oh yes, he's far too far back now, so these two are out in front. If nothing goes wrong, it'll be one of them that'll win the race, and McClellan has led for every one of the 9 laps he's covered. Macrow, though, still stalking behind, still well placed. There's only a fraction in it, as you can see, and Macrow still has an excellent chance of winning if he can just keep up there and just keep the car in its place. Keith McClellan in the white cheetah. And Macrow, who won in Adelaide, still maintaining station. It seems that Macrow may just be making up a little bit of ground on the corners, but McClellan is doing it fairly well, I think. He's not putting a wheel out of line. And he crosses now for his 9th lap, 11 to go. The sun suddenly streaming here at Amaroo Park, and what has been a fairly overcast day with rain threatening for much of the afternoon. Now, while there's still plenty of cloud around, there's a bright patch in the sky, and plenty of sun out there to dazzle the drivers as they climb the hill. And
Macrow closing up.
He's trying to dazzle McClellan. He got very close coming out of Dunlop there, now down through Mazda towards Honda, and he is closer than he has been at any time since the start of the race. So at this point, halfway through the 20-lap high-time race, maybe Macrow is out to make a move, but McClellan again pulls clear. So a real battle going on here for the lead in this Formula 2 race.
They came off the front row of the grid. McClellan and Macrow recorded the same time in qualifying, 48 seconds dead. That's 0.4 quicker than the official lap record in this class here. 48.4 is the Amaroo lap record, to the credit of John Smith. And oddly enough, he set that record in the Royal RT1 that's being driven in this race by Terry Ryan.
Talking about Terry Ryan, that it's really a pity that we can't bring you the pictures from Racecam that we planned mounted on the side of Terry Ryan's car, but a technical hitch in the relaying of the picture from our helicopter back to our outside broadcast van, so apologies there. Well, it looks like we might be coming up to an interesting finish to this event. We'll take a break and then return to see the final stages of the High Time Personnel Formula 2 feature race here at Amaroo Park.
6.5 laps remaining in the High Time Personnel Formula 2 event at Amaroo Park, and positions at the front are unchanged. Car 9, Keith McClellan in the Cheetah, leading as he has since race start from Peter Macrow, and they have a very, very considerable lead indeed over the rest of the field.
Car 3, Steve Swain in the compact Hartman, has retired. Mechanical problems. His is the white car you may just see parked up on the top of the circuit. But the battle continues between these two, and Macrow sometimes gets closer, sometimes drifts back. It doesn't seem he can do too much. He won't like the way the tail swung out there on the top of Dunlop. There's car 3, Steve Swain's car, parked on the outside of the track. Just some mechanical problem. Nothing wrong with the driver, of course. Nothing wrong with the driver of car 25, Peter Macrow, but he can't do much about catching up to Keith McClellan, who has led from the start, and they've now covered 15 laps. Only 5 to go when they come round to the start-finish line. There's McClellan in the Cheetah ahead of Macrow in a similar car.
Peter Glover still holding down 3rd spot in 13 ahead of Terry Ryan.
Well, I don't know what Macrow can do. He's tried just about everything. He's been on even terms with Keith McClellan on a couple of occasions. But every time he gets within striking distance, McClellan just seems able to pull away.
Yes, motor racing is 2 races. I suppose there's the drag race at the start, which puts someone in front, and then there's the rest of the event when they're going round at regular pace. Here, Hartman is the equal of McClellan, maintaining about the same time, but just cannot bridge that gap between the two. Sometimes sneaks up, other times drops back, but generally has maintained the same sort of pace. I was talking to Peter Brock yesterday about his race at Silverstone last week with Larry Perkins in the Porsche as a prelude to the Le Mans race. And he said that they broke suspension part in the car after 10 laps, lost 52 laps, which is a fair time in the pits, and then rejoined the race, and from there to the finish stayed within sight of Jackie X, who won. So Peter was pretty pleased, but 52 laps was a fair margin to make up.
Hard deficit to pull back.
They came 21st. But he's going to France, I think, with a fair degree of confidence. The car just being lapped. First of all, McClellan goes through. Next, it should be the turn for Peter Macrow. Peter does it harder in that he came up on the car in a more difficult place, but Peter Lana in the Ren pulled over to let him through. Peter, an experienced driver, was watching in the mirrors and realised that if there's one car, there's likely to be 2, and pulled it over. It's always difficult for the slower cars to do the right thing for one of the leaders when they come round. Usually they're not expected, and the driver who's in the car has got his own problems. He's got his mind on where he's going. He's probably driving as hard as the car will go. And yet when someone comes along to pass, he has to give him the better part of the road if he possibly can and not get in his way. And it's not always an easy task. Just as it's not an easy task for Macrow to catch up on McClellan, but he's a little closer now than he was last time round. But he still has quite a formidable task. You can see the margin there. That's the leader and the second man round. And he only has something like 3 laps to do it in. Well, McClelland hasn't made a mistake, nor has Macrow, but the only mistake Macrow's made is not getting to the front at the start.
Now it's McClelland coming up on a slower car, will pull to the inside, perhaps as they come onto the straight. Yes, he does, and gets the line coming up towards the top of the hill. It was Graham Blee, I think it was moving over to give him racing room.
I don't think Graham quite knew which side he was going to pass on. He's still there, in fact, so he's about to be engulfed also by Peter Macrow, and he'll be watching very intently to see where Macrow comes from.
Margin, by the way, for the first two over third place getter Peter Glover is 3/4 of a lap.
So it has developed into a real two-car race. Despite the great efforts of Peter Glover to fight his way up to third place, he hasn't made up ground on this leading pair, and no one has looked like getting really within challenging distance of Keith McClelland. Macrow has always hovered there, but I think he's going to find it hard to make up that distance. McClelland needs to make a mistake or have some sort of problem, I suspect, just to allow Macrow that tiny margin he needs to start pegging him back. The last lap board is out. 1 lap to go. They've covered 19. 1 lap to go in this high-time personnel Formula 2 feature race.
Keith McClelland in the pie entry, the cheetah, leads coming down towards Mazda corner for the final time. Has held the lead since the first time over the top of Bitchapave Hill, and opening up that gap now over Peter Macrow. It's opened up now to perhaps 3 car lengths on the short run down to the Lake corner. We made that about 5 or 6 car lengths now. And McClelland through the Lake turn, the short run along the straight, and he's been unchallenged to go and win. Wouldn't have mattered if it had been a 10-lap race or a 5 or a 1. He still won it. He's the best driver out there and the fastest. Going across the line to pick up second place is Peter Macrow. And then a long way back.
We can have a cup of tea while we're waiting for third.
For third place. Coming across the line in a matter of seconds. So can't take anything away from Keith McClelland. He turned out to be the winner of the High Time Personnel Formula 2 feature race this afternoon at Amaroo Park. Second spot going to Peter Macrow, and third place going to Peter Glover. And nice to see the Formula 2 cars here at Amaroo Park, and hopefully when next we see them, they'll have someone to perhaps stay in touch with our race winner today, Keith McClelland. Well, there's the winner returning back to the pit area, Keith McClelland. We'll take a break and then return back to Amaroo Park Raceway.
Well, welcome back, and I'm tempted to say, Keith McClelland, it's high time you won a race, but it's not. You've been doing pretty well, haven't you?
Yes, thanks very much, Evan. Pretty lucky today. Peter kept me honest the whole race, and through him on racing today, he let me an oil cooler yesterday, which is really good sportsmanship.
Well, you had trouble yesterday?
Yeah, an oil cooler blew. We shortened our practice time, and Peter, I thought was going to take pole, but it was very close.
Come over here, Peter. So you gave the man who beat you the part that let him beat you.
Well, that's the way it goes. You've got to keep all the cars in the race, haven't you?
There are a few times there when it seemed though you were going to really throw out a challenge. You got close sometimes.
That's right, yes. The back tyre started going off, and you feel a lot of oversteer going down the hill down there, and that's the end of that once the tyre started to go off.
Right. Well, we have Liz Matheson from High Time Personnel to make the presentation to you, Keith. Liz?
Congratulations, Keith. There you go. Congratulations and best wishes for the rest of the race as well.
Thanks very much, Liz. I'd like to thank Channel 7 and Amaroo Park for letting us race here today. High Time Personnel for putting on the sponsorship today, and my own personal sponsor, Pie. Thank you.
Terry Ryan, not here? He's over there. Yes, I saw you there. I was going to apologise. We didn't show the camera because we had problems with the chopper.
Is that right?
Yeah, but the cars went well.
After all that.
A great race and a good victory by Keith McClelland. Back to you, Mike.